Good morning, Dreamhouse Nation. James Lewis of TDH. Joining us today are the co-founders of Random Games, Tony Harmon and Wyeth Ridgway. Guys, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. To be here.
So, Tony, what is Random Games?
Random Games is a company that Wyeth and I founded. We've wanted to work together for years. We've both been in the space for many years, and we're doing a very unique project called the Unioverse. And what's so unique about it is the community will actually own this project. It's a community-owned franchise. It's the first of this genre, and it's a really exciting project for us. And community-owned franchise is a new concept, so hopefully we can give you some idea of what it is today.
Definitely, yeah, because when I was first hearing about it, I'm like, no, there's no way they could possibly do that. But, I mean, it sounds phenomenal. Wyeth, what does a developmental studio do?
Well, so Tony and I have both been in the games industry for several decades, and typically we would just be building a specific game. And there's a typical model where we come up with an idea and we go get it funded. And then we build a game for, one of the big companies you might be aware of, like EA or Activision. But this is really a departure from that. This is Tony and I looking at the opportunity that Web3 and NFTs created and coming up with a whole different business model. And so while we will be building a few games, I think we committed to building the first 3 games inside of the Unioverse. What we really are doing is creating a franchise that we call a community-owned franchise. And ultimately, we're encouraging game developers around the world and just content creators in general to come and help build this franchise with us. So it's really a whole new way to think about how the games industry works and how people can own a piece of the franchise and how a community can own some of the franchise and actually build the project along with us.
So I'm probably oversimplifying it, but it feels like... with having the community own it, it feels like they're able to basically create their own fan fiction kind of thing with their own games and their own lore and their own universe. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We tried to create a storytelling franchise in which all sorts of stories could take place to make it very welcoming for not just game developers to build any sort of game that they want, but also for storytellers and artists and all sorts of creatives to play a role inside of the franchise.
Wow, I mean, it sounds like the perfect area for like a Renaissance person who's good at creating all the different levels from music and art and, I mean, games and shoot a little bit of everything.
Absolutely right, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, we want to include everyone. Even our fans can take anything that we've created and make their own comic books, their own T-shirts, anything like that, and sell it, and it's all royalty-free. They don't have to pay us anything back. I try to remind people all the time that they own the Unioverse. We don't own it. It's a project for everyone to be able to get involved with.
That is awesome. So how are you able to tie video games, comic books, novels, and so much more together in the Unioverse?
So when we have 25 authors working on the project, building out stories and elements of the Unioverse, they're building not just a single game, they're building a franchise. You have to think of this like Marvel Universe or Star Wars. It's a really large playground for people to play within. So it's ample opportunity. So if you have if you have like Marvel, which Disney owns, you couldn't make your own Marvel character, print up your own comic book and sell it. The legal team would be after you pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Same with Star Wars. If you printed your own Star Wars shirts and you started selling them and you had any level of success, Disney would become, knocking on your door. But that's completely opposite. We're completely dependent on the community. This is their project. We want them to be kind of the promotional arm of the company. They can make their own shirts. They can do their own, even videos. They can do their own drawings, lunch boxes, whatever. And that actually helps promote the project as well. And that helps us grow. I mean, we're growing at just a staggering rate. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had a couple thousand people involved with us. And, we have, over 80,000 registered users right now, growing at like almost 50% per week right now. So people really love the concept that they can get involved and be a part of and own a Marvel Universe beat, or own a Star Wars, franchise and participate in it heavily.
So when are the conventions going to start? Because I can imagine something like this. This thing is going to be crazy popular. They're going to be bigger than Comic-Cons. They'll have, and by the way, I know I'm saying it wrong. So will you say it again? How do you say, is it Universi?
Unioverse. It's Universe with an O. So Unioverse.
Unioverse. Excellent. Because I'm like, I know I keep saying it wrong. I feel bad about it. But I was going to say one day it's just going to roll off the tongue because, shoot, it's going to be so commonplace.
That's certainly our hope.
Yeah, we're hoping so. We try to trademark a name that it was broad enough that can encompass large projects. So not only, we expect there'll be dozens of video games within the universe. We're writing 6 comic books right now. There's a novel being written for the Universe right now. Our community is constantly creating content. We opened up a store a couple days ago to sell T-shirts that the community has created as well, and give away a bunch of T-shirts as well. So it's a fun project for everyone. We have a creator track in our Discord channel, and we do little assignments, for people on that. Hey, name a planet, create a T-shirt for us, et cetera. And we'll just amp that up over time, and eventually people contribute more and more to the project.
That is phenomenal. I mean, that you're getting feedback, you're getting input from the community. And I mean, gosh, like you said, it's not just yours, it belongs to the whole world. I mean, that is phenomenal.
Yeah, there isn't a kid out there that played games that hasn't wanted to make games. So if you're into games or you're into comic books, everyone who reads a comic book would love the ability to write and try to create their own comic book as well. We give all these assets that we create, we provide them to the community, and they can do with them what they please. And so it's a great tool chest for people to get involved and try to create their first property themselves, because they get the assistance of all the content and that some legends in the industry have created, whether they're writers or musicians or concept artists. They get the ability to see how the project develops over time and use those assets.
So how can the members of the Dreamhouse Nation get access? How can they join the community?
So we have, if you go to unioverse.com, then you can join our Twitter as well, and we have a Discord channel for the Unioverse as well. And so those are all great ways to get involved and learn what's happening with the project. We're also playing a fun collectible game right now where we have a lot of collectible NFTs. Our audience loves NFTs and loves free stuff, and so we're taking the concept art and marrying the concept art with a little bit of the story on each NFT, and then we give them away, multiple ones per week, and then we have a game that we play where people can get a set of them and combine them and get something more valuable. So we're doing that as a way to try to teach people in the public how the blockchain works, how ownership of the NFTs work. And that's an important step for us, because that's our heroes will be released that way. The first one's Rayu. It's released on January 8th. And anyone participating in our community has this opportunity to get one of these characters free. And the characters, what's special about them, instead of getting an NFT that's a little piece of artwork like a Bored Ape, it's actually a fully 3D operational hero that can be seen in our environment, can be dropped into a game. The heroes are required admission. It's like your ticket to play our game. If you don't have a hero, you don't get to play a Universe game. So we're trying to teach people this process through this collectible game right now.
Oh, wow. That's phenomenal. Tell us a little bit more about the hero. What are they like? Or what are their characteristics?
So you can think of our heroes much like you would think of action heroes inside of Star Wars, like Boba Fett or Darth Vader, or like Marvel superheroes. Characters that have some ability to combat and some ability to be an action star, and they're aspirational, but they're also of many different races. So Ryu's actually from a race that's over 1 million years old, and his background was that he was essentially stuck inside of a kind of like a suspension pod and was discovered in the modern era. So he's very a fish out of water. But he's one of the most capable fighters in the entire Unioverse. So he's like a pinnacle action figure. If you see him, you'll see he's a little bit monstrous. He's got a face only his mother would love. But he's also heroic, and the first comic book that's coming out based on him, gives you a little bit of his background story. And actually, the reason that we focus on heroes is some people ask us if we're a metaverse. We're not a metaverse, because inside of a metaverse, you kind of show up as yourself. What we are a game franchise universe where when you see Ryu, like you would have the same emotional reaction that you might see or might have if you saw Wolverine or, some other hero. And you want to play as that hero, and you know that hero's backstory and his personality and what he's good at and what his weaknesses are. So those are the heroes that we're making. And after Ryu comes the first human character, Krisha. She's a bit more of like an assassin character. And then we have leaked art for probably the next 4 characters or heroes after that. And as each one comes out, we'll essentially have this introductory storytelling moment where you can both learn a little bit about them and a little bit about their history. And then all of those things also reveal a little bit more about the whole franchise backstory.
Nice. And then, like you said, the community is able to build on what you've started and to just expand it. And wow, I mean, that sounds phenomenal.
Exactly right. In fact, one of the things that we're going to be doing in a couple of months is putting out some of our concept art for future heroes, and then asking our community, hey, write a little blurb and that describes what the background of this hero is. What race is he? What is it? What are her? And what are her abilities? And we might even escalate that to the point where the last finalists get to interact with our franchise director, Brent Friedman. Brent works, hand in hand with Lucas and on Star Wars and a bunch of other franchises. So, the ability for a fan to potentially sit down in a chat like this and be able to pitch their idea, that's part of the uniqueness of what we mean by community on franchise. So we want to drag the community into this process with us.
Wow. I mean, that is just phenomenal. I mean, I was going to say it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, you get to create the universe with you. You get to own the universe. I mean, I can't imagine anything better than being able to make your own games and being able to have influence on the history of your favorite or new favorite franchise.
It's one of the most global projects I've ever worked on, probably the most global project. We literally have people from U.S., Canada, Mexico, Vietnam, China, Indonesia, all the European countries, all contributing to this project. And I've never been involved with a project that people around the world love it so much. And I asked them, and they said, well, I live in Indonesia. What chance do I have to make a video game? Or I live in this small town in France. There's no video game developers down the street. And so it's an awesome opportunity for people around the world that don't live in San Francisco or Austin or Tokyo or Shanghai, these big gaming meccas. They don't live in those areas. Ability for them to get involved with a project, a team, and contribute. And if they have some technical skills, they can actually take our 3D assets and make their own game with it.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get in on the ground floor of the upcoming biggest franchise of the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's what we're shit for.
Yep,
oh, gosh,
that's our goal.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, someday we could be talking about how you all have your own theme park and world and, oh my gosh, all the things that could spring out of something like this. So now where do they go to sign up? Where do they go to join in? Where do they go to be a part of this?
So Unioverse.com is a great place to start, because from there you can join our Twitter. You can join Discord. Discord is a platform that gamers often use, and it's a great way for the community to talk. And we have creator tracks where people can interact with the game designers, the writers, the musicians on the project as well, and they can kind of tie into the part of the project that they most enjoy. So those are the key ways. But if you go to Unioverse.com, you'll be able to connect to all the ways that we communicate with the group.
Sounds awesome, guys. It has been a pleasure having the two of you on our show. I know our listeners are going to be excited about this. I just, am blown away by the limitless potential of it. So I definitely have enjoyed talking with you guys today.
Thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
Yep. We appreciate it, and just want to remind everyone that it's literally their project. And the more that the community gets involved, the bigger and better the project will be.
That is phenomenal.
Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom has products in stock and available to take home today. With 5 stores and almost 40 years in business, they are Ohio's appliance experts, and they help you to get the right product at the right price with a huge inventory. You can save 30 to 60% every day on everything from Bosch and Viking to LG, GE, and KitchenAid at unbeatable savings and in stock. Plus, Mattress Kingdom inside Appliance Factory has everything from Tempur-Pedic and Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and DreamCloud mattresses in stock. Stop by any one of Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom's 5 Ohio locations today or visit online at appliancefactory.com.
Good morning, Dreamhouse Nation. James Lewis of TDH. Joining us is the comedian Andy Beningo. Andy, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thanks very much for having me. Excited to be chatting with you guys.
So how did you get started in comedy?
Yeah, believe it or not, I started a long, long time ago. I started doing open mics when I was in college. It truthfully started off as just sort of a bucket list thing. I always grew up idolizing funny people like Steve Martin and Robin Williams. And so when I got to college, I just kind of wanted to try it as a bucket list thing and just got hooked immediately to it and just fell in love with making people laugh. And so just been very fortunate that I've made a career out of it.
Nice. How did growing up as a middle child affect your view on the world?
Yeah, it's I grew up with a very big family. My mom was one of 10 kids and my dad was one of 6 kids. And just had an older brother and a younger sister, and a family was always just like an important thing in my life, and so that's really where I get a lot of my humor from is mostly just taking notes on my family. There are a couple of characters in my family, and so just it's just is always just a very warm family growing up, very nice people, and I think that kind of reflects through my comedy. I try to just talk about them and things that happen, just as being a dad and being a husband and having parents that are getting a little older and doing crazier things. So just family certainly shapes, not only me as a person, but just my comedy as well.
Nice. So in other words, your comedy comes from real life experiences, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah. I made a joke earlier where basically I don't feel like I'm a comedian anymore as much as I am a reporter. I just kind of watch my kids and listen to kind of what they say and kind of what they do. And then a lot of times it's just, very relatable stuff. And, it seems like audiences tend to gravitate to that material. Anytime you can. I always like when people laugh, but I always love when you can kind of see people turning to each other going, hey, my kid does that, or my dad does that, when you can kind of capture, those relatable experiences. It's always, something I try to do.
Exactly. So who are some of your comedic influences?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier in the show, I loved Robin Williams growing up. I loved Steve Martin and Jerry Seinfeld. But when I was in college starting off, believe it or not, we used to get comedians that would come in and perform in the cafeteria, and there would be like maybe 30 college students or whatever. And to make a long story short, those they end up being Mike Birbiglia, Daniel Tosh, and Jim Gaffigan were some of the people that came through, before they were famous. And, now it's kind of fun to look back and see that basically they kind of go through the same thing that I do. Sometimes crowds are big, sometimes they're small, but, those people were always very, very nice to take time out of their schedules just to kind of chat to, students and, aspiring comedians like myself. So, I try doing that too for younger comics as well. You just try to talk shop and be as encouraging as you can because, it certainly can be a tough business sometimes.
Definitely. Why are you one of the most in-demand comedians working today?
That is a very good question. People might have seen my act and said, yeah, why is that? But I think it's mostly because I work clean. I think, there's still a demand for clean comedy. So I feel like I get a lot of calls for kind of corporate shows and church events and things like that are, obviously looking for humor that, isn't going to offend anybody. So, been very fortunate that the calendar gets pretty full. Yeah, just been lucky to be able to do what I love to do.
I agree. It's a nice change of pace because unfortunately a lot of the comedians out there nowadays are just trying to be raw and raunchy and don't find the simple comedy in life and be able to like, for example, I love my son. He's 11, and I would love to take him to comedy shows, but most times it's like 18 or 21 and up.
Sure.
And he can't go to them. But somebody like you, we'd be able to take him, and he'd be able to listen and enjoy the jokes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a prude or anything like that. You know, like, I mean, I just could never pull off dirty material, you know, and the stuff that I find funny is more, like I said, stuff about my family and just kind of universal topics like, you know, marriage and kids and just daily life. So that's, you know, those were kind of the comedians I gravitated towards when I was younger and just watching people. And so that's just, you know, how I started writing as well. And so, you know, it's just stuff that I think is funny. And, you know, I've luckily tapped into a market where, you know, like I said, people want to just have an evening out, just to laugh and forget about their problems. So, you know, anytime you can do that for not only people, but their, you know, their families, or, you know, can bring their neighbors or their grandparents or kids, you know, it's nice when you can just give everybody an evening out, you know.
Nice. As a clean comedian, is there any topics that you refuse to cover?
I mean, I just try to stay away from, you know, like political and sexual humor, just because with political stuff, you're going to split the room regardless, right? You're not going to be really changing anybody's mind, especially in today's political climate. Everybody has kind of got their own opinion and kind of stick to it, right? So if you start doing kind of politics, I feel like you kind of split the room and people start getting mad one way or the other. So I try to avoid that stuff. Like I said, I just try to keep the kind of universal topics that people can kind of relate to, daily life stuff, or, you know, jokes about, you know, stuff you see on the road traveling all the time. And so, like I said, yeah, comedy to me is sort of like a vacation for people. You know, you just give them a chance to forget about their problems, laugh a little bit, and then go back onto their daily lives. So, you know, I try to stay away from, I guess, topics that are going to kind of ruin people's evenings, you know.
You've been on a lot of great shows. One of my favorites, of course, is the Bob and Tom radio show. Tell us about working with that crew.
Oh, they're fantastic. I mean, that was one of my dreams as a kid to appear on that show. You know, I listened to those guys in the mornings when I was in high school, driving to school and stuff. And I remember driving with a cousin of mine one time, and he's like, "You're going to be on that show one day." And it kind of became a pipe dream, and sort of got on the show accidentally. I was performing in Indianapolis, and Tom Griswold happened to just be watching the show, and kind of saw me and liked my stuff and invited me to be on the program. And, you know, I've been on there, you know, every year for about 10 or 12 years now, and always treated me well. And, you know, obviously, like I said, legendary show. They've been at it for, I think, longer than I've been alive. So it just goes, you know, shows it's a testament to how, you know, not only talented they are as radio hosts, but also just how they treat their guests and how they are as people.
Definitely a great organization. Yeah, I was going to say, shoot, same thing here. Grew up listening to them on the way to school, and oh my gosh, I mean, it's just a thrill to have some of the folks like you or Kostaki or Tim Bador that have been on their show. Heck, we had Allie Breen before she was one of their full-time people. So I mean, it has just been a pleasure being able to, you know, feel like, you know, on a similar level, not the same, because obviously they're legendary, but to be able to have those same type of folks on our show, it's just a thrill.
It's always nice. I mean, they've you know, and don't you know, cut yourself short. It's a great show, and people love you guys, and it's nice when you get programs like that either want to break comedians or introduce comedians to, you know, people who might not have necessarily heard of you before. So that was one of the nice things about Bob and Tom is they, you know, they've done it for like 30 years, introducing comics like Kostaki or even Tim Allen back in the day to kind of a national audience. So, you know, definitely owe those guys a lot.
So how is Chick McGee's Off the Air podcast different from him on the Bob and Tom show?
Yeah, I got to do Chick's podcast a while back there. It's just a little more off the air kind of stuff. You know, it's like when you're on that program, you know, you sometimes, you know, you obviously get a little bit of time to chime in and do some jokes, or you talk about the news and stuff. So you really don't get a whole lot of time And so that's what's kind of nice about Chick's podcast is it basically is just an interview, and you get to kind of chat. And same thing, the audiences kind of get to know you a little bit better off of their program. And so, Chick is a super talented guy, and so it was nice to just have an afternoon to just kind of chat with him and just kind of talk comedy and kind of goof off.
Your first album, Quiet Coyote, tell us about it. What type of topics do you cover?
Yeah, so I actually recorded that way back in, I think, 2015 or 2016. And I recorded it at my home club, which is the Ann Arbor Comedy Showcase. I might be a little biased, but I think it's the best comedy club in the country. It's just really low ceilings and the crowd's really on top of you. So the energy in that room is always just off the charts. And so, when I was thinking about doing the album, it was a no-brainer for me to do it, at my home club. But that album was basically just, at the time, it was just stuff that I was doing. So it was stuff about dating, which, was mostly material about my now wife. But we were dating at the time. And, I was a substitute teacher for a long time. So there's a lot of jokes about that. Just a couple little things about traveling and things like that. And then I recorded another album just over the quarantine called Andy Beningo's Quarantine Comedy Mixtape. That's what we called it. And it was essentially that, everything kind of shut down. And so we weren't able to do any stand-up anywhere. And, I was so sad because, I just love doing stand-up. I love making people laugh. And it was just trying to figure out a project to be honest, not to drive myself crazy, just sitting around with all this spare time, So basically what I did is I called a bunch of radio morning shows, kind of like this one and a couple of other ones, and just kind of did jokes about the pandemic and, stuff that was happening in my life with my kids and my dad. And so we just basically recorded those and just turned them into, a little album. And, was trying to find different avenues to make people laugh during the quarantine, So we did a couple of sketches on YouTube and the album. And so I kind of took it as it's kind of a weird time. Obviously, a lot of my friends just, unfortunately gave up and were like, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to hang out. But it felt like, wow, the pandemic was really a time where people really needed laughs, So it was fun to just kind of explore different avenues. And like I said, the Zoom shows and little sketches on YouTube and stuff was, really just a way to keep busy and still try to, entertain the audience that I've been able to come up with. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So in other words, it's kind of like a compilation.
Pretty much, yeah. So we called it a mixtape because it's just really a hodgepodge of all kinds of different things. So it was a couple of conversations with my agent Bob. He's just a funny guy, and he just was like, well, a lot of people just want to hear about kind of bombing stories and road stories. And so we did a little mix of bombing stories, and then we did a mix of kind of these radio call-ins. And so, people that listen to it seem to enjoy it. And so now just kind of working on the next one, which is, luckily going to be just some more stand-up again, which will be great. So I'm hoping to record maybe next year or, very early 2024 for the next. Always coming up with stuff and always trying to make people happy.
That is awesome. So where is the best place on the web, social media, for our listeners to find out more about you?
Yeah, the best thing they can do is just go to my website, just my name, AndyBeningo.com. It's Beningo, and Beningo is his name. It's easy to remember it. But if you go to my website, you'll find a tour schedule where you can see kind of some upcoming show dates. But social media, you can add me on Facebook and Instagram. Both of those handles are at Bingo Comedy. And always love hearing from people that have seen the show or have seen stuff online. So feel free to shoot me a message and say hey, and hopefully people will be coming to the shows.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I was going to say, anytime you got any performances in Ohio, Kentucky, or Indiana, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to have you back on the show to talk that up, or when the new album drops, definitely just say the word, and that way our listeners at the Dream House can know more about it.
I love that. I really appreciate that so much.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us, Andy.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom has products in stock and available to take home today. With 5 stores and almost 40 years in business, they are Ohio's appliance experts, and they help you to get the right product at the right price with a huge inventory. You can save 30 to 60% every day on everything from Bosch and Viking to LG, GE, and KitchenAid at unbeatable savings and in stock. Plus, Mattress Kingdom inside Appliance Factory has everything from Tempur-Pedic and Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and Dream Cloud mattresses in stock. Stop by any one of Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom's 5 Ohio locations today or visit online at appliancefactory.com.
Good morning, Dreamhouse Nation. James Lewis of TDH joining us from Incredible Eats is Dinesh Tadipalli. We are excited about having him on the show, but before we get to him, we're going to give out an email address because he's hooking us up with some prizes to give out to our listeners. And as you all know, you write into dreamhousenation@gmail.com. That's dreamhousenation@gmail.com to win prizes. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, James.
So what is Incredible Eats?
Yeah, Incredible Eats is a brand which is revolutionizing the way we eat our food by replacing single-use plastic cutlery with edible cutlery. You heard that right. You can eat your spoons, forks, and straws after using them, and for a true sustainable zero-footprint experience.
That is phenomenal. I mean, shoot, that is one of those big things that, they talk about garbage island and those different things where there is so much waste out there in the world, and you guys are really changing things by making the silverware edible. And then even if you don't eat them, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but even if you don't, they're biodegradable, which is phenomenal.
Yes, absolutely right. Did you know that 100 million single-use plastic cutlery is disposed of every single day in the U.S.?
Oh, dang.
It's not per month or per year. Every day we dispose of about 100 million plastic cutlery.
Oh, sheesh. Yeah. I was going to say, unfortunately, that does sound right because, most people, 1 or 2 items a day. And, oh, my gosh, yeah.
Yep.
It adds up quickly. That is true. So how did
unfortunately, COVID made it even worse because of all the takeouts that we're doing. It's actually 30 to 40% increase in usage right now.
Oh, dang. So how did it get started? How did you come up with the idea for Incredible Eats?
Yeah, actually, the idea popped into my head at the least expected places at an ice cream shop. When I was having ice cream with my kids, I threw the spoon in the bin after using it for 10-15 minutes. And suddenly a question hit me hard. As an educated person and a person who's aware of plastic pollution, why didn't I think twice before using a plastic spoon just for 10 minutes of my convenience, knowing that it's going to be in the planet for hundreds of thousands of years? So that question really startled me. And I looked around, I saw cones. I was like, if we can eat an ice cream in a cone, why can't we make cutlery similar to a cone and, make it edible? So people who are aware or not aware, doesn't matter about plastic pollution, they can still make an effort to reduce the impact that we create to the planet.
Exactly. And even if you're not all about helping the planet, just the fact that they taste great is a reason alone to try.
Exactly. That is true. Because that gives another reason why you should not use a plastic cutlery. Nice. That's the reason why we stuck with edible. And as you mentioned, yeah, we have flavors, both vanilla, chocolate, and sweet, and oregano, black pepper, plain for savory flavors. And we're also coming up with very exciting new flavors next year. So the reason why we do this is because, as you mentioned, even people who are not sustainably focused, for the fun and uniqueness aspect of it, this would be a great opportunity to reduce plastic consumption together.
So tell us about your dedicated staff.
I'm sorry?
Your dedicated staff, your hardworking employees.
Oh, yeah, sure. So we just 2 people here in the U.S., me and Jack. We take care of all the aspects of our startup, our business. It's a very small business, even though we replaced 5 million plastic spoons in the last 3 years. And we have a factory in India where we manufacture it. And my goal is, as we scale and as we have bigger customers, to bring the manufacturing here to the U.S. and also reduce any emissions that we make. And by the way, we are carbon and plastic negative certified. So.
Oh, that is phenomenal. So what are the products made of?
Oh, the products, edible cutlery, all the spoons, straws, and spokes, they're made of vegan, non-GM grains, wheat, oat, chickpea, brown rice and corn are the main ingredients, and then we have natural and some artificial sweeteners to it for the sweeter flavors.
Nice. So how are you able to make them so durable that you can do hot soups and cold ice creams?
Yeah, it didn't come very fast. We literally, I think we did about 80 trials, and actually we are engineers by background, me and my partner there in India. So we figured out a machine that can actually make the edible cutlery possible. So it took some time. We spent a lot of time on R&D, and we figured out what's the right thickness that it is still edible, but it's also usable, right? Because you have to use it as a utility first. And the other thing that we did to make it better, make it work better, is we intentionally sold less the first 2 years of our startup to gather feedback. The first spoons that we launched were a little more thicker, and we got feedback like almost 50% of the people thought it was too hard to bite. And then we immediately changed the model, changed the die, we literally revised it almost close to 4 to 5 times. And now we are at a 70 to 75% acceptance rate about the hardness and all that. So yeah, we're still evolving in that way.
Nice. Now, you mentioned it before, but tell us again, what type of utensils do you offer?
Yeah, we offer edible spoons in two sizes. One is the small spoon for the ice cream or any desserts, and then there is a larger spoon which can be used for oatmeal, cereal every day, or even for your lunch boxes, for the kids' lunch boxes, so that they don't lose their silverware, and even for any sweet and savory flavors. We also have sporks for any fork utilities, and we just launched edible straws. They're coming up this week and on our website.
That is awesome. So it sounds like there's a lot of great things going on.
Yes, absolutely.
What is the difference between the Spoon 1 and Spoon 2?
Oh, yeah, that's what I was trying to say, right? The Spoon 1 was the first version of Spoon, which was a little more thicker and less wide. We actually changed the model so that more people can easily bite it, especially kids, right? Some people, if it's too hard, it's very hard for kids to bite it. So we actually made it wider and thinner. So that's the version 2. And that will be the only version going forward because it has better acceptance rates compared to the Spoon 1. Nice.
So what is the difference between the spoons and the sporks?
Yeah, the sporks have the sharp edges. It's a combination of a fork with a spoon base, literally. So it can be used for say mac and cheese, pasta, a little bit of noodles. So it can be literally replace your fork. But yeah, again, I won't really recommend it to really hard surfaces. You can't really scoop out a steak of meat or a small piece of meat or something. But it's for the softer foods, it works well.
Nice. And you mentioned the flavors, but tell us again what flavors you offer.
Sure. For the sweeter side, we have vanilla and chocolate, and we're coming out soon with mixed berries and strawberry in the next few months. And for the savory, we currently have plain, oregano chili, black pepper, and we'll be coming out with a tomatoes-based flavor or something in the next few months.
Oh, wow. So it sounds like there's a lot of great things going on.
Yes.
And I was going to say, it might be a secret, but I understand that there's even talks of chopsticks.
Yeah. I just didn't want to disclose it because people are keeping asking me when are they going to come. So we have the initial samples ready. We're trying to sample with the larger companies, co-packaging companies with sushi trays and all that stuff. So we're focusing more on B2B on the chopsticks, but slowly we will launch on the direct-to-consumer side as well. Most likely Q2 or Q3 of next year, you'll see the chopsticks out.
Oh, nice. And then, like you said, the great thing about it, they're edible, they're biodegradable. They're just perfect for the planet, it sounds like.
Yes, it is. And it's also fun. It's not just about sustainability. And the better advantage for if there are any listeners who own businesses like coffee shops or even ice cream shops or any dessert shops which need plastic cutlery, it provides an alternative for them which can make money because these products, since they're edible, you can upsell them. It's like selling a topping, right? If you go to an ice cream shop, you pay 50 cents for a topping. Similar to that, why should the cutlery be free, right? That cost of convenience is what led to this much pollution. So, and the business can make a little bit of extra money because instead of spending a lot more on other alternatives, they can actually upsell these spoons or include it in the product cost itself.
Exactly, like you were saying with the difference between the cones and the bowls and things like that.
Yes.
When they had the edible bowls, there's always a bit of an upcharge. But yeah, it sounds like it's definitely worth it because it adds to their experience.
Yes, exactly.
And then the only thing that you do have that's not biodegradable is the plastic, but I understand you use a minimum amount of that, but enough to keep it protected and safe.
Actually, yes and no. Initially, we couldn't find the material to cover our paper, so we tried just wrapping the spoons in paper. But in fact, before COVID, none of the spoons were individually wrapped. Because of COVID, there was this huge demand of them not touching the spoon because you want to eat that later. So we had to wrap them. And in initial 5 to 6 months, we had to use like a 2 micron of coating, which the supplier didn't let us know. But we actually compensated it twice later on. But now we actually moved away from the PE coating to another wax-based lacquer coating. So it's more like a wax paper. And it's recyclable, and it's just paper on the top. Right now, we try to avoid any plastic as much as possible. But as you mentioned, there is plastic used in the shipping and freight, and like even shipping within the United States. So there is some plastic. Unfortunately, we have to use for some like food safety reasons and all that stuff. And for those reasons, whatever plastic we use, we calculate the weight of the plastic, and we pick out 2x or 2 times what we use from the oceans back to the land.
Oh, wow. That is phenomenal. And then because this is such a revolutionary product, I think it's going to be huge. I want to know how the members of the Dreamhouse Nation can invest in Incredible Eats.
Yes, we are actually currently actively looking for seed investors, our seed round. I'm not sure if you already mentioned, but we were on Shark Tank like last October. It was a very good. Not this year, last year October, 2021 October. I'm sorry, and it went very well, but the deal didn't go through. I can't disclose the reasons, unfortunately. But we are actively raising our seed round, and I'll be happy to pitch them further if they can reach out to me at dinesh@i-eats.com or through our website. You can just ping us.
Awesome. Speaking of that, what is the website? What is the social media? So we can let our listeners know about that.
Yeah, sure. Our website is incredibleeats.com. We are also actively selling on Amazon as well with Prime eligible. And but I would really recommend people to look into our website rather than our Amazon, because Amazon sometimes we can't control how much plastic they use in their shipping. So that's a challenge there. But yeah, our website, any orders coming through our website, we generally do not ship with any plastic. It's only cartons or paper wrapping. And our social media handles are Eco Incredible, ECO Incredible. We are live on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
That is awesome. It has been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. This is great.
Appliance Factory in Mattress Kingdom has products in stock and available to take home today. With 5 stores and almost 40 years in business, they are Ohio's appliance experts, and they help you to get the right product at the right price with a huge inventory. You can save 30 to 60% every day on everything from Bosch and Viking to LG, GE, and KitchenAid at unbeatable savings and in stock. Plus, Mattress Kingdom inside Appliance Factory has everything from Tempur-Pedic and Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and Dream Cloud mattresses in stock. Stop by any one of Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom's 5 Ohio locations today, or visit online at appliancefactory.com.
Good morning, Dreamhouse Nation. James Lewis of TDH. Joining us today is a wrestler, a poet, and a genius. Thank you, Lanny, for joining us today. Our guest is Lanny Poffo.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. Thank you so much.
So what is your current connection to the University of Kentucky?
I have no connection with the University of Kentucky.
Oh, we're always seeing you on your socials doing, like, you're a big fan of one of the teams, I thought.
Oh, yeah. Now I know what you're talking about. At the airport, I ran into the tennis club of the University of Kentucky. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I figured you were like a backer or something, or a big fan.
No, I was just talking to them while they were there.
Oh, cool. Heck yeah.
And we just took pictures together, and I put them on my Facebook. And I was confused about what you meant. But now I remember I was in the airport, Bluegrass Fields, and such a beautiful group of people.
Oh,
we had some fun, and they laughed at all my crazy stuff, and that was really fun.
Nice. That is awesome. Why do you love professional wrestling?
Well, I'm just grateful to it because it gave me a very good life. And I try to give back as often as I can. But I live in Ecuador now, and in 12 years I'm going to be 80 years old. So I don't really spend a lot of time watching television, wrestling or otherwise.
What was it like being trained by your father, Angelo Poffo?
Well, he was a good trainer, but he had a psychology that was very smart. He said, don't just learn from me, learn from everybody. And when you stop learning, it's time to quit.
Makes sense. I was going to say, as long as you're learning, you're improving and getting better. And you've had so many years of experience in the ring. You probably have learned, more than most people will ever know.
Well, I like to think so, but every fan has a different preference. And I tried to mix it up as best I could, whether I was a good guy or a bad guy. I always watched everybody's match and tried to, what they say, if you copy from one guy, it's stealing. If you copy from 100 people, it's research.
Exactly. So tell us about your pro debut back in '74.
Well, I graduated high school in June 6, 1973, and my pro debut was right after that. I was lucky to be the son of Angelo Poffo. Other people couldn't get booked as easily. And I was in Paducah, Kentucky, and that was the territory All-Star Wrestling with Phil Golden. I was there for 6 months, and then in 1974, I went to Atlanta, Georgia, not the NWA, but instead it was Ann Gunkel and Tom Ernesto. And the biggest star we had was Thunderbolt Patterson. There was Ox Baker, and there was Jody Hamilton, who was the tag team partner of Tom Ernesto when they were the Assassins.
Of your different in-ring personalities, which was your favorite to perform as?
It depended. When I was Leaping Lanny, my favorite was to perform with Terry Funk and also Bob Orton Jr., because these are fantastic people to wrestle. But then when looking back on my career, the Genius was my favorite character because I got to spend 4 months on main events all through the WWE, WWF network, including 2 shots in Madison Square Garden.
Nice. As Leaping Lanny Poffo, how did you come up with your ideals bringing the Frisbee to the ring?
Well, that's a very good question. I stole the idea from Al Costello. Do you know who that is?
No, you got me on that one.
Okay, there was a tag team called the Fabulous Kangaroos.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, Al Costello, Roy Hepperman, and Wild Red Berry. And there was a couple of other incarnations of that. But that was the most famous one that was in Madison Square Garden. Anyway, they would bring, it's an Australian tag team, so they would bring boomerangs to the ring, carved by a real Aborigine.
Ooh.
But you can't throw those to the people. So they had these cardboard ones. I don't know if they were cardboard or what, heavy paper, just, with some weight to it so it'd be aerodynamic. They threw those to the crowd. And on that, you could even look it up right now. It's got information about Al Costello, Roy Hepperman, and, some information about the tag team. So it's a nice keepsake, a nice souvenir. But when they would throw these to the audience, 2 of the fans that would run for them is the Macho Man and the Genius, my brother and myself. 'Cause I thought it was a fun thing that they were the only wrestlers that threw things to the fans. And so when I became the poet laureate of the World Wrestling Federation, I started throwing scrolls to the people, but it's not aerodynamic enough. I used to just take these parchment paper covered with, poetry, tape it up, and try to throw it to the crowd, but it would barely make it over the railing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, I can't use a boomerang because I'm not Australian. It wouldn't make sense. And I said, what could I throw that would be aerodynamic enough to really get out there? And I said, wait a minute, Frisbee. So I bought 500 Frisbees, put a poem on each one, printed. And right when I was about done with them, 500 had been thrown out. Somebody in charge of WWE marketing says, hey, do you mind if we sell these? Do you mind if we market these? And I said, no, I'm very happy with you doing that. So then I didn't have to buy my own Frisbees anymore. And they sold the Frisbees at $3 a piece. And I would always go there and sign them. And that caused them to sell out. We sold hundreds of them. Okay. I made a nickel a piece, but I didn't do it for that. I was trying to prove that I was marketable. And, that was my goal.
Nice. So did you write the poems?
All of them, yes. Even the lousy ones.
Which ones were your favorites? Which one was your favorite?
Let's see. My favorite poem that I did on television or of all time?
All time.
Okay. In 2002, my daughter graduated from high school, and I wanted to give her a poem that was the epitome of all the wisdom that I had to give her in 2 stanzas. Something she could keep in her front pocket if she wanted to. A long poem is like too long and boring. So I said, be humble when victorious. Be noble in defeat. Be there when your neighbor doesn't have enough to eat. Try to love your enemy and always be aware that World Cup or Super Bowl, the tortoise beats the hare.
That is nice. And you
thank you.
And you wrote that for her graduation?
Well, I wanted to give her a Hallmark greeting card, but I made my own. When you care enough to do it yourself.
Heck yeah!
And it's a little something that I hope that she, that resonates with her. Also, let me see. I'm trying to think of another poem that I enjoyed. In the wrestling industry, the best one I ever did was, there's only one man smart enough to put Hulk Hogan down. The genius has a devastating plan. You're looking at the future World Wrestling Federation, who appeals to the modern thinking fan. When I emerge victorious with gold around my waist, I shall be the most splendiferous of all. Don't tell me Hulk is 6'8" and I'm just 6'2". Between the ears, I'm over 10 feet tall. He wants to wrap his 24-inch pythons around my neck and give his famous, what you gonna do? By the power of the genius and the world's smartest man, I'll rely on my incredible IQ.
Nice. Tell our listeners about your agility, your athleticism, your high-flying ring style that, quite frankly, at that point, not many people in North America had done.
Well, I started out, I think I was 8 years old when I started off in gymnastics. And although I never became really good at gymnastics, I was good for my size because I was too big for the prototype of the gymnast. And then I always thought that to be athletic in the ring, it'd be good to, try to show off my flexibility, like I could bridge out of everything. And, but when I was 47 years old, I did an infomercial with Tony Little. Did you ever see that or hear about it?
A little bit.
Okay. The cameraman says, do a backflip. And I did. And I almost broke my neck.
Oh.
And, I just made it, just cleared it. And he says, do it again. We'll do a close up. And I said, no, that was the last one. Now, here I am. I have not tried another backflip since then, because, if you fall on your head, you might break your neck. If I break my neck, that might be it. You don't get do-overs. So the last backflip I ever did was on that infomercial. And when they told me to do another one so they could get a close-up, I had to refuse. That's when I was 47. I am now 67. Next month, I will be 68. That's 20 years of no backflips. And you just got to surrender the things of age to youth. And I'm lucky I can breathe in and out, lucky I can walk, lucky I have a painless body and didn't land on my head.
Definitely. After a career that you've had, all the different battles that you've been in, I know a lot of the performers from your generation do have a lot of health concerns. So it must be nice to be in good condition.
That's right. And I have to turn down opportunities to wrestle every time. They say, hey, Ric Flair just wrestled his last match, and he's older than you. And I said, I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to have to give a refund to the fans. And I don't want to take a risk on getting hurt at this late stage of my life. You know, I don't want to, it's over. But I can be nice to the fans. I just came back from Germany, and I brought all these pictures with me, and my comic book. There's a Genius comic book, and they sold them all, and I signed them all. So I'm very nice to the fans, and they've always been very nice to me. But they wanted me to wrestle, and I said, I cannot do it. And if you would see me wrestle, I'm sure it would be a big disappointment for you at the age of almost 68 years old. It's time. It's a young man's sport. Young men should be doing it.
Is that the comic book by John Crawford?
Yes, Crowder. Yes.
Yeah, he's awesome. I've seen some of his other work. I mean, just all the different legends that he's done over the years. He does an amazing job with his art and his writing.
Right. And the only thing that I do now, now that I'm living in Ecuador, and I don't sign autographs and put them in the mail because we don't have a reliable mail service here. But I do, I'm on Cameo. So people get a birthday, they want me to wish them happy birthday, and I sing to them, and, I try to, and what I'm proud of is I've never gotten less than 5 stars review by any fan. So I always make sure that, and I think Caitlyn Jenner, she sells her Cameo videos for $2,000. I'm $50, but I've never had a refund yet, and everybody's happy.
Exactly. A great price, something fun for, person my age who loved professional wrestling growing up. And yeah, it'd be an honor to have, you wish them happy birthday. So definitely an awesome thing to say the least.
Yeah, it keeps me connected with the fans. And, I live in, like I say, Quito, Ecuador. And it's the only thing I do for the fans, except I make some personal appearances.
Nice. Now, going back to your career, one of the things that I thought was really interesting was at one point you wore a full knight's armor to Bunkhouse Battle Royals. Why was that?
Yes, thank you for asking. I was influenced by Kamala, the Ugandan warrior. And it was from Sanatobia, Mississippi. He had a great gimmick, and I thought it got over really well. The Kamala gimmick was very colorful. It was fun for the fans, and it was very convincing because he could back it up with his work. He did a very good job selling that gimmick. But he didn't know where Uganda was. He didn't know about Idi Amin. I knew all about it. He didn't. So I told him about it in one ear and out the other. He was just a working Kamala, not a shooting Kamala. So I'm thinking to myself, why don't I come up with a gimmick that would be totally different than Kamala, but yet similar? And I bought a suit of armor, and it wasn't real armor. It was theatrical armor, the kind that you would wear if you were playing Sir Lancelot in the Broadway musical Camelot.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I wrote a poem, Look Back Through the Annals of History and the Wrestling Hall of Fame, men from all nations with courage to spare, who struggled to carve out a name. Now compare these high standards of valor to those chivalrous knights of yore, with bravery staunch as their armor, their glory both legend and lore. My medieval connection with wrestling relives that magnificent past, though mindless skeptics may snicker and scoff, the winner is he who laughs last. Alive with the love of wrestling, I appear on TNT, between Vince and awful Alfred, the hottest show on TV. I'm not your average wrestler, but I wouldn't want to be. I never scream or kiss my arms. I'm happy just being me. I call myself Leaping Lanny. I validate what I say to every single wrestling fan who's watching USA. Yes, I believe in miracles, as God has blessed this great land. I believe the referee will soon be raising my hand. Nice. So after that was, during the commercial break, Vince McMahon on the TNT network, he says, Lanny, that was great. From now on, you do a poem before every match.
Oh, cool.
And I tried to act cool about it. And I said, yes, inside, the 12-year-old inside, because a wrestler without a gimmick is boring. So that was my gimmick. I did a poem before every match.
Nice.
And became the poet laureate of the wrestling. But he didn't want the suit of armor. He just wanted me to be Leaping Lanny, the gymnastic good guy, with a poem before every match. So, about a month later, they started having these bunkhouse battle royals, and it was Howard Finkel's idea that I enter the ring with the suit of armor. And I did about 20 matches like that. But what happened was, like I told you, it wasn't real armor. It was theatrical armor. By the time the bunkhouse battle royal matches were through, my armor was damaged to the point where I just threw it away. And it was the last battle royal. It was not meant to be wrestled with, okay? But it made a nice first impression for the fans. So for that, I'm grateful. And I'm grateful for Howard Finkel, the late Howard Finkel, for thinking of me and suggesting it.
So it was better entrance attire than in-ring attire.
Well, you can't really wrestle with a suit of armor, but yeah, it was for an entrance, and I would take it off to wrestle. And I was using it in Memphis territory, Jerry Jarrett, Jerry Lawler, and it got over big at first, but then what can I tell you? The second time you've seen it, the surprise is over. But you can say that about anybody. I mean, every time I saw Andre the Giant, he got a little smaller. Then if I haven't seen him in a while, he gets big again.
Nice. I know what you mean. We had Vashon on, and he told us all about Andre and in detail about the experiences they had. And gosh, that must have been a wonderful experience being able to perform with him.
Yes, it was really great. Yes.
So, you've worked with so many legends over the years. Is it fair to say that your biggest win, though, was that one that you had over Hulk Hogan?
There's nothing close to that night because that was on NBC, and it was a total. All the other wrestlers were totally baffled. How did Hulk Hogan, who never lost a match, lose to the Genius? And he picked me out of the scrap heap of the wrestling. Scrap heap. I had been, as Leaping Lanny, I had been thrown through the ringer, and then I become the Genius, and he liked the gimmick. So it was all his idea, and that's the reason, no matter who knocks Hulk Hogan, it's never me. I love him, I appreciate it, and I'm very grateful.
Definitely. I always felt like you were more like the Dominic DiMaggio of professional wrestling, where because of your brother, you were very underrated. People always, thought of him first, but you still had a really great career.
I am proud of my career, and I'm also very happy that Randy got to his height. See, you have a choice in this world to be jealous or to be happy. If you're jealous, you can never be happy. I am a very happy man, because I'm proud of my career and I have good memories and selective amnesia. So Macho Man did what he was born to do, and the Genius did what he was born to do.
That is awesome. Well, Lanny, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. Before we let you go, where on social media, where on the web, where can our listeners find out more about you?
Oh, just go on Cameo and look for Lanny Poffo, and I always respond. Here I was in Germany, and as soon as I got to my hotel, I had 4 cameos to do. It's like, so I don't let the grass grow under my feet. And also, if you go on Lanny Poffo Facebook, you'll see that I pinned to the top my website, which is the geniuslannypoffo.com, and on it you'll click on it, and there will be my Hall of Fame speech for my brother. I'm very proud of that. And also, I want to say thank you for this great interview. You're very knowledgeable, and I appreciate that. But guess what I'm most appreciative of?
What?
You were punctual. You were like 30 seconds early. And I said, well, he promised he would call at 2 o'clock, and here he calls 30 seconds before. And I think that's great. I don't like it when people are late.
Definitely. Well, we've enjoyed having you on the show.
Okay, and I wish you nothing but the best, and thank you for being polite and professional.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom has products in stock and available to take home today. With 5 stores and almost 40 years in business, they are Ohio's appliance experts, and they help you to get the right product at the right price with a huge inventory. You can save 30 to 60% every day on everything from Bosch and Viking to LG, GE, and KitchenAid at unbeatable savings and in stock. Plus, Mattress Kingdom inside Appliance Factory has everything from Tempur-Pedic and Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and DreamCloud mattresses in stock. Stop by any one of Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom's 5 Ohio locations today, or visit online at appliancefactory.com.
Thank you for tuning in to this Dream House, brought to you by Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom. We look forward to seeing you again next week.